So the new season of Apex Legends is one day away, and with that being said, the new perk system is something that a lot of people are excited to try and get their hands on to see just how it works in game. And honestly, what excited me about the perk system when I first saw it get introduced is the ability to create builds in this game, for lack of a better term. Theory crafting and creating different builds and different types of possibilities when it comes to the way you can use your abilities is something that I've always been a fan of in games, from Elder Scrolls Online to Warframe and all the games like that. It's just fun with all the different possibilities and the ways that games give you to use the abilities, to be able to use them effectively in ways that another person playing the same character may not have thought of, that enables you to get the win. And I wanted to do this before season 20 came out so that when it does, I can go in the range and kind of test out some of these theories and see just how predictive I was with how things may work. But today we're going to do some theory crafting in terms of just looking at the perks that these abilities are gaining the ability to use, and just look at some different ways that we may be able to combine the perks, as well as different gameplay styles and weapon combos and things like that, to create different builds that you can use as baselines for when you use these characters. So first off, we got Ashe, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, them not adding an ability for her arc snare to go faster is, I'm just scratching my head wondering, because I'm sure that is the #1 complaint for all 6 people who still use Ashe, myself included. There's no reason why the arc snare should be going at the speed of the tortoise from the Tortoise and the Hare story, but I digress. Now honestly, one thing I will say about the additions that they have made to Ashe, they've definitely made her a lot more in line with her kill heavy assassin type character that her personality goes with. Between both of the level 2 upgrades, is going to be a lot easier for you to find enemies and be able to attack them. So that's something that any Ashe team is going to have an advantage with when it comes to just being able to move around the map and both find enemies or avoid them and find your way to safety easier. Now, even though this is the first one that I'm looking at, Ashe's perks may not necessarily be too viable when it comes to creating builds, because the first 2 perks are pretty divergent. Most people are obviously going to choose one or the other, but then when it comes to the last one, I feel like most of the time people are going to end up choosing greedy snare. The arc snares themselves are already slow, so you having an additional one, I mean, it may not necessarily help you that much if they're able to just run away from it or use an ability to get out of it. But if you are able to hit that arc snare and you're able to get multiple enemies in it, that's going to change the game a lot. If people are backed into a corner and they can't move, that makes it a lot easier for you to spam them with abilities, grenades, for you to push them in a position that they may not be able to really defend from, and that just opens up a lot of viability and a lot of gameplay factor ability to when it comes to Ashe being on your team. So as far as builds go, I think greedy snare Ashe will probably end up being the main one used, although for Ashe players, I think it'll probably end up coming down to what type of player you are in general. But as far as the level 2 perks, I feel like there's 2 main ways that people can take these perks, and that'll be Sniper Ashe and Seeker Ashe. Now, Sniper Ashe will probably be more so for people that are using 1 minute to live, and I don't necessarily mean sniper in terms of using a sniper rifle and hiding and camping and trying to third party every fight. Basically what I mean is Sniper Ashe is always going to be able to figure out where people are and going to be able to have a bead on them, at least if she's hunting them or actively tracking one of them. So if you're using Sniper Ashe with 1 minute to live, it's going to be a lot easier for you to basically hunt your enemies and continue to use them as prey. Honestly, Hunter Ashe may work better than Sniper Ashe. Seeker Ashe, however, for Murder Machine players, that's gonna be for the aggressive player who you get on your team who evac towers to every POI and just eliminates everything there, because Murder Machine is going to make it a lot easier for you to do that. After you kill a team and you're aggressively and immediately trying to find the next one, Murder Machine Ashes are going to have the ability of, #1, knowing if they're about to get third partied and being able to react in or defend, as well as #2, being able to know if there are enemy teams in the area that may not have got a bead on them or may not have realized that there was a fight near them and they ended up messing up and allowing you to catch them slipping. At the end of the day, I feel like the perks are definitely a big buff and a big boost to Ashe. I will say I'm definitely kind of sad that they didn't make her arc star go faster, but hopefully that's something that we may see change soon, or we may get Ashe reborn or something. Like, please do that before a Lifeline. We don't want to see more Lifeline reborn. Next up, we got probably everyone's least favorite character, because I really don't ever see anyone use Ballistic. And I'm not gonna lie, ballistics perks are kind of pretty mid. I, I don't see ambuvision really being too relevant for any legend. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, unless you're like Imperial Howl and you can never find light ammo or just never pick it up, I don't necessarily see ammo types and death boxes being a buff or a boost to any character, really. I mean, it'll help, trust me, but in the type of game that Apex Legends is kind of a useless pick. Care package insight, at the very least, you'll be able to see if there's a Kraber or if there's actually a viable weapon that you may want to use. So I see care package insight ballistic or CPI ballistic being a lot more valuable. But then again, considering he can use 3 different types of weapons, ambuvision ballistic may actually be the only case where ambuvision is actually useful, because if you're trying to find ammo for all 3 types of weapons, it's probably going to be a little bit difficult. Now, as far as the difference in extra bullet and lasting bullet ballistic, I would say extra bullet will probably end up being the go-to factor, mainly because even if smart bullets duration is tripled, it's a lot easier for someone to just shoot into the ground or shoot off into the distance and end up getting the burn and then going right back to you. And this is one of the ones where, like I said in the beginning of the video, I want to test these after season 20 comes out and see how things are, because I'm not 100% sure if this means that after you burn out the smart bullet burnout thing, however you call that it stays and you're able to do it again, or if it just means that the duration up until it actually just cools off from you is tripled. I would assume it's the former, not the former. I would assume it's the latter, but I guess we'll see whenever the game actually comes out. So ambuvision ballistic has slight viability, although CPI ballistic will probably end up being the most used, and extra bullet ballistic is really the only one that actually makes any sense. Now, Bangalore, she already got a huge nerf with them making it so that you can't use digis on SMGs anymore. So Pro League might finally actually start to be a little bit more exciting again soon, because we can actually see what's going on, and it's not like we're like, you ever seen one of those shits in anime where they're fighting all fast and it's just dust and clouds and smoke and all of that shit? That's how it feels when you're watching an ALGS endgame sometimes, and that is ridiculous. But anyway, Big Bang Bang and Ultimate Cooldown Bang. Honestly, Big Bang Bang is probably not going to be picked too much, because you get 60 seconds left for a Bangalore ultimate. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. I can't really see anybody, I mean, unless like you're a Bang who has like a fuse duo and you like feeding them grenades or something like that, that may be a reason why you do it. But other than that, I can't necessarily see anybody picking Big Bang over Ultimate Cooldown Bang. Now, Cover Me Bang and Refuge Bang. And see, one thing I feel like we're definitely going to see a lot more of next season, or I guess this season by the time you're seeing this video, is people referring to these builds and the type of, I guess, just the perk or the ending perk that they use as an adjective for the type of character that they're running. Like, for instance, Refuge Bang. I feel like Refuge Bang is going to be a phrase that we hear a lot this season. Like, honestly, I would bet money on it. We're gonna hear an ALGS announcer sometime this year yelling something about, "Oh my God, Refuge Bang!" So it's gonna happen, because it just makes sense. And honestly, from a marketing standpoint, I definitely can agree with them having like these trendy names for the perks. But anyway, I digress. Refuge Bang is more than likely going to be really the main one people use. I'm not saying that to say Cover Me Bang isn't useful, because at the very least it helps you with your teammates that are less aware, which, let's be honest, is about 90% of the player base at this point. And unless you're running like straight pro scrims or pro team gameplay or high rank gameplay, Refuge Bang is probably going to end up being the one for you. But Cover Me Bang is probably going to end up being the worse off one, because you need to compensate for the fact that you have teammates that don't know what the hell is going on because skill-based matchmaking, and yeah, that's another topic. But anyway, so between these two, Refuge Bang is obviously going to be the best choice. I mean, you regenerate HP while you're inside your smoke. usually when you're inside your smoke and you're a Bangalore, you're hitting a bat. But now if you're regenerating HP and you're hitting a bat at the same time, that gives you a lot more opportunity for you to change the fight. And especially if you have another character on your team, like a conduit or a lifeline or something like that, you can end up coming out of that smoke with full health. And then, the person that was pushing you probably didn't take the time to heal their health. And now they need to seek refuge because it's the end of the day for them. So at the end of the day, ultimate cooldown, refuge, bang. If you're not using her, you're probably just playing for fun. All of these are ass. Let's just skip him. But no, seriously, I can't stand Fuse, but Big Bang Fuse is this is one of the few characters I can actually see something like that making a difference on, especially because Fuse needs all those grenades. I hate the knuckle cluster, but at the end of the day, if you're using Fuse and you don't have like 80 grenades in your inventory, what are you doing? Like, when I used to use Fuse before I grew to hate him and everything he stands for, and every time I hear that fucking knuckle cluster sound, it makes me want to jump out my window. But when I used to use Fuse, I mainly used to use Wingman PK, and then the entire rest of my inventory would be heals and grenades. And when a team is in a building and you have 12 more grenades after the 8 that you've already shot, and you're watching them scrambling around like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, it just becomes highly entertaining. And it's something that never mind, I'm not going to suggest any of you try that out. No, please don't ruin any more of my games. But as far as his perks, Big Bang Fuse is very viable, but at the same time, Scar Tissue Fuse, and Jesus Christ, this isn't a real perk. Scar Tissue Fuse, this is kind of like a cheat code, honestly. Like, if a Scar Tissue Fuse and a Maggie with that, I haven't even got to Maggie yet, but if a Scar Tissue Fuse and a Maggie with that fucking ball that leaves a ring of fire or a plus sign of fire or whatever, if you get pushed by a team of those two at the same time, it's gonna be a long kiss goodnight, because Jesus Christ, like, if you're Fuse and you're aggressive, you should probably use Scar Tissue, because if you're not aggressive, you're probably gonna need Big Bang to sit and hide behind cover and shoot grenades over and over and over again and never shoot your gun and be a typical Fuse. But if you're a Fuse that actually knows how to play the game and you actually know how to shoot your gun, which is like 3 of you out there, Scar Tissue is gonna help you a lot. You can get in there in those fights, and with you not taking, honestly, the no slow effects from Motherload is probably the best factor. When I fence people with Watson, it's a lot easier to dance around them and have fun and do all of the extra stuff, because they're stunned and they're slowed and they can't even turn their damn camera. A Fuse being able to do this to you, and even though the Motherload is eating away at your HP, at the same time, if you're in a fight with someone who can't turn their camera and they're taking 50% more damage than you, and y'all started that fight from equal footing and you lose that fight, you need to blow a Fuse, because that's on you. So as far as, honestly, I think Fuse's perks are backwards. I feel like Knuckle Hustler and Reckless should be level 2s, and Big Bang and Scar Tissue should be level 3s, but I digress. A short speed boost on a successful Knuckle Cluster hit is okay, but at the same time, I guess that one will, probably depend on how long the speed boost is. Like, if it's the type of speed boost like you got from when we had the last event that they introduced the small perks, and it was like the speed boost after squad wipe, which, now that I think about it, I'm sure it's probably going to be that same exact perk just switched over to when you get a Knuckle Cluster hit. That may actually work very well for Fuse, especially if you're an aggressive Fuse. Scar Tissue, Knuckle Hustler Fuse, Jesus Christ, that'll be something ridiculous to deal with next season, because if there is a Fuse player out there that knows how to move around and take cover in positioning and reposition and shoot their gun, which, like I said earlier, is about 3 of you, Knuckle Hustler and Scar Tissue, with you being all aggressive and Jesus Christ, I'ma hate dealing with y'all. Please don't ever put on any of those 3 characters in my players in my game. As far as Reckless is, I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, you got to think about it like this. So with Reckless, if you take 25% less explosive damage, that with things like that, with damage mitigation and percentage values, they mean the most when damage is higher. So let's think about it like this. If you get hit with a grenade and it does 10 damage, Reckless is only mitigating 2 damage. So at the end of the day, it's not mitigate. Somebody's going to comment that. I don't care. But 25% less explosive damage for 10 damage, it's not really going to do too much. For 100 damage, if it takes away 25% of that damage, that still leaves you with 25% of your health at the end. But when you think about it, that's not really that much health for you to do anything with. And I have a video coming out soon that'll go more in depth on just how easily it is to die in this game and just how low time to kill is, even though people think that the time to kill is very high. But that's not that much health to work with. So the 25 less explosive damage, it may help you, and it may be like a you must die by my hand, freeze a super soul and keep you from dying. But the health that it'll leave you with after you die, I don't necessarily know if it'll be enough for you to really do anything with. So I can't see it being too useful. So with all that being said, Knuckle Hustler Scar Tissue Fuses, please stay out of my lobbies next season. I don't want to fight any of y'all. I'm not with it. Mad Maggie, and it's funny that she was next. Okay, so the fireball, that's what I was talking about. And this is another one where I feel like her level 2 and level 3s probably were switched. I don't know. Shots, auto reload shotguns on knock, and fireball. These two, they actually did pretty well making both of these level 2s instead of making one level 2 and one level 3, because having to choose between these two and having to give up the other one is definitely going to be a hell of a choice. And I think it may just depend on what type of Maggie you are. And this is my analysis from Maggie being my first main on the game. I mean, it was, I guess, Mirage, but Mirage doesn't count for anything. If you're how can I say this? If you're a Maggie that loves the riot drill, Fireball is probably going to be better for you. If you're a Maggie that likes Maggie more because of her passive of you moving faster with the shotgun out and using shotguns, shots is going to be best for you. And I say that basically to say that even though Maggie is an aggressive, fast-paced type of player, there's two types of Maggie players. One of them that likes to riot drill and wait for people to get into the open so that they can use sniper rifles and all of the other long range weapons on a character that's meant for short range. I don't know why they do that. Or you have the people who use the riot drill and get people in the open just so that they can send over the wrecking ball and get up close. And while the wrecking ball is a key factor in both of them, at the end of the day, if you're mainly using it to get up close and then get those shots in as opposed to use your abilities to poke, you want those shots because you want those. You want shots because you want that auto reload when you're switching weapons and when you're moving around and trying to keep from getting shot and knocking enemies and things like that. If you let off 4 shots with a shotgun and then half of your submachine gun or AR clip to knock someone, you get that whole shotgun back at the end of that knock. Now, Big Drill and Drill Slinger are actually interesting, and I honestly think these may just boil down to, again, what type of Maggie player you are. I can see Big Drill being useful, but at the end of the day, it's still too easy for someone to just move out of the area unless like they've put themselves in an area where them moving out is just going to be certain death. But with that being said, if someone puts themselves in a position like that, Big Drill is going to be a lot more useful. I won't lie, but that is a lot more dependent on someone messing up and making a bad move and putting themselves in a position where you can easily punish them, as opposed to Drill Slinger, where you kind of have a little bit more of a leeway to force positioning and make people make movements and things like that because you have the extra drill. And the depth part of the drill is already kind of wonky anyway, and it doesn't work how it's supposed to, at least in my experience. So honestly, if it were me personally, I would probably go with Drill Slinger, especially because when I play Maggie, the drill is good for keeping people from just sitting in a building or sitting at a window, but I'm not really spending too much time forcing someone to not sit at a building or in a window or something like that. I'm trying to move them into a position or move myself into a position to make the fight a lot more close range. And if you play Maggie, that should probably be your prerogative too. You probably shouldn't play Maggie and then act like she's Vantage. I see that a lot. So level 3 upgrade options will probably just come down to preference. Level 2 depends more so on what type of player you are, but when it comes to level 3, it may just really be preference, or if you're playing for fun slash ranked or in a comp setting. So, but then again, there's not too much Maggie in comp settings, so hopefully we'll see that change soon. So if you couldn't tell by now, this is kind of a last minute video. I've had this planned for about a week and haven't really had the time to do it. But now that we have an actual week and get all the perks and what all of them do, and tomorrow we'll get, well, today, I guess by the time you're seeing this video, we'll get a look at all of them in game and be able to see what exactly they'll be able to do. So that being said, this is only part 1, obviously, because there's more characters in the game than the assault characters, again, obviously. So part 2 and part 3 will likely be out tomorrow, today, something, and you'll be seeing those as the season is live and seeing my predictions and thoughts and everything for how things will work that were supposed to come out before the season drops, but now you'll be seeing them congruently with how things are working. So with that being said, if you like this, be sure to engage, like all the other blah blah stuff that we typically ask people to do that I hate asking. And be able to look out for part 2 and 3. They've already been recorded. I just got to chop them up and get everything ready to upload to these damn YouTube servers. So take care. See y'all on one of those.